Welcome to The Choice to Grow. I'm Scott Schwenk. Through these dialogues, we'll explore fresh perspectives and discover practical tools for navigating a thriving life that adds value wherever we are. I'll introduce you to innovators and creators from across our world who embody what it means to cultivate growing as a way of life. Let's prepare together. Take a deep breath in. Hold the breath briefly as you soften your shoulders and soften the soles of your feet and palms of your hands. Then exhale like you're releasing tension and setting down a heavy burden from every cell. Now let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody, to The Choice to Grow. I am delighted to share a dialogue with you, with my next guest, our next guest, Bea Rubli. Bea Rubli is German by birth, Swiss German, and she lives in France. And I'm just going to share a little bit about this extraordinary being because the title that the world gives to Bea is not inclusive enough of what all is here. It's so much more, but she's been called a medium. She grew up in Aarau with two sisters, and in the early years, she didn't even notice how different she was. But at home, there was space for it. And she shares that it wasn't until later as she got older that she painfully realized, how many of us can relate, that the worlds and dimensions she carried within her, her deep connection to the spiritual realms, the beings, the visions in her dreams, and her love for animals, didn't seem to have relevance in this world. It was a harsh shock. And so she decided she wanted nothing more to do with these dimensions as they had led her into a deep crisis during her youth. So at this point, her inner guidance seems to step aside. She focuses entirely on the physical world. Completes education, worked in interior design, managed an art gallery. Art and form had always been a passion of Bea's. And during the years, she still, though, as happened for many of us, encountered people, often mediums and healers, who told her that she had a gift, that she could channel. So she let their words just kind of pass by, not paying them much attention. And even in the magical moments that deeply touched Bea, the recurring visions, she just kept ignoring them. I'm thinking of so many of the saints I've read their lives where this was the case in different times. I had firmly decided I did not want to be a medium. For me, this was the end of the matter. So that led her fate led her to London, where she was supposed to furnish an apartment for a business partner of her father, and even had the opportunity to work for a company there. Wow, she thought, this is my chance. I can finally live a normal life. But when she arrived at the beautiful house on Belsize Park Gardens with its 3 apartments, she was greeted by a friendly man who asked her what had brought her to London. So she explained her tasks, but then it happened again. This is not your task. That simple sentence changed everything. Her stay in London turned out completely different from what she'd planned, and she owes infinite gratitude to Eckhart Tolle because his guidance that day, this is the man she shared the apartment with, steered her back onto her true path. Still, it took a while before she truly was ready to follow her inner calling. So she started attending evening gatherings in Basel, Switzerland, immersed herself in spiritual and mediumistic training, and even traveled to England to further develop her abilities. Another pivotal moment in her life was her encounter with Lucius Werthmuller. Unfortunately, he left this world far too soon, but through him, her path became clearer than ever before. So for the past 30 years, Bea has been channeling beings and streams of consciousness, sharing these powerful energies with people and guiding them through profound transformational processes. So this is where I'll share a little bit about my experience with Bea. I met Bea in Basel, Switzerland myself. I was there filming a course for unity.com and teaching at a live festival that we were both at. The second I took a look at Bea, it was like familiar, like family. There wasn't much to say because I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to hang out with her and eat cookies. And that's what we did most of the weekend when we weren't speaking on the stage, was eat cookies, drink tea, and share space together. But in that sharing, so much was going on. So much is going on. I've had a session with Bea. I've chatted privately as friends with Bea. And she's the same off stage as she is on stage. A wonderful, very simple person with a huge heart, profound intellect, through whom incredible consciousness flows for the benefit of beings. She's funny. She doesn't tolerate bullshit. She's an extraordinary woman, mother, and friend. So, with that, with great honor, great joy, I'm so happy to invite you to listen together as we dialogue together and we see what wants to emerge in this dialogue about how human beings might collaborate, how we might open more to the heart's wisdom, how we might let go of some of these habitual tendencies to grasp and over effort in life and shut down the magic and the joy and the freedom. So, Bea, welcome.
Hi, wow, you said almost everything just by the three sentences at last. The thing you spoke, this is really what makes me so happy. These words, you just shared, like the heart, and that we really need to let go of these structures, and like we are all so fixed in this ego space, we've been put in, and it's like a matrix we actually still in, and now we should really, go beyond all these limitations. So thank you for these words.
So
Very
happy, so
familiar.
happy.
So you see, we are on the same, like, we are aligned as family
Yes,
in this
yes.
cosmic, yep, energies we share.
And I want to make a note to you listeners. Bea made a mention to me in the beginning that sometimes the words may not flow so effortlessly through her mouth in English. She speaks many languages, and yet sometimes it's just this is the way it is. And I want to say this again and again in each episode, regardless of the language of the speaker. The real meal, the real opportunity is behind and between the words. So I'm inviting you to elongate your spine, deepen your breath, and listen like you're spending time with a sunset or a sunrise. You're feeling it rather than trying to think it. And you can re listen because there's an energetic flow here that's much stronger than anything Bea or I could create, but it is here. So you can listen in such a way, playfully, and just imagine you're sensing this energy flow, sensing the words rather than trying to figure out anything.
Yes. You're very welcome, yes, to share the flow of energy, the power, the wisdom, because as you said, it's not the words, they just carry the energy. So, and if I'm not channeling, sometimes languages are a little bit slow. So I try to be half channeling, half just here with you.
Tell us a little bit for those who might not be familiar or not be properly educated where it goes well, your understanding of what a medium is in the way that it moves through you. And some of us who might not even understand that we might have some of those capacities ourselves. How would you help us to understand that?
Yes, I mean, medium is just also another like word to for me. It's like, that I've been always open, like I had all the portals and the beings talking and communicating with me. So there was a conscious flow, of informations, and it's actually the transmission of information, energy, healing. So to bring in these dimensions, into the material world, because we are here. So to incorporate the energy is the most important. And to me, this is the space I am all the time, that the feeling of being a conscious being into a material embodied world. So I think we shouldn't even use this word anymore, because you are the most multidimensional being. Everybody is. It's just all the limitations that we think this is away or far away or outside of your possibility, to communicate because we are so in our brain and mind and all the thing we're stuck, if you want. And being a medium is nothing to me. It's like a natural stage of consciousness. Everybody is in it if he opens to it and is not feared and scared when things happen beyond. It seems to be beyond, but it's not beyond, it's just there as well.
Hmm.
Between the words, between in the dreams, everywhere in the nature. You wake up in nature. This is the most amazing experience you can have, to just see the living bird, not only the name of the bird, but the energy of a tree, a plant, an animal, a human being, in its light, in its pureness. So to me, the
I'm
medium is,
imagining looking at the hand, like each listener maybe to look at your hand and drop the words about your hand and the descriptions of your hand. What is it like to just, as Bea is pointing at, actually be with the experience of the hand or the house plant or the sun outside the window? What is it to just be without a reference point?
and you would just, if you have put your hands on your knees and you just breathe, and after a while you feel the energy, not the hand. Even if you don't move the hand, you feel the movement, of the energy. And then you just step into this space of energy and of awareness. It's all about awareness, if you want. It's all about, are you aware? Do you want to be aware? Because you are always a conscious, being. It's not that you actually step into something. It's like an awakening more. It's not, people always think they have an aim to grow in their conscious whatever awareness, but actually it's there. It's not that you have to go all this pathway. Of course you have, because you don't know the language, you don't know the energy, because you don't learn it any, in normal society at the moment. I hope this will change, of course.
I've heard, and I'm wondering what your experience is. I've heard that like approximately around every 6,000 years on this planet, there's a great forgetting, and that the majority of people knew that there was energy everywhere and that we were multidimensional and how to use this energy without misusing these energies. Is this something that you're familiar with? Does this
Yes,
seem like accurate? And
I'm
what
a
else could you
very,
share
very,
about this?
yes, I'm very familiar with this because I also work with this frequency. Maybe you heard all about, we actually were in other lifetimes, incarnation, whatever timelines, whatever you want to call it. So there were a lot of like times where it wasn't really the forgetting, it was also the power, there was a power suppressing like the mystical and energies, so they withdraw. So that seemed like you would forget it, but actually it was not forgotten, but like covered with other power systems. They didn't want, to have the mystical, the magic anymore, and also the power of people on themselves, because then you can't navigate anybody. To navigate, you need separation, you need fear, you need all this stuff. Then people get very, like this, they bend, they they are in fear or whatever, struggling, but they don't have the tools. And now I think we are really, really, to me, it's so important to know that I think this timeline is going to collapse, and I'm all happy about this.
What does that mean? A collapse of a timeline? What is that? What would we see or feel or experience in the collapse of a timeline?
I do feel that it's like a timeline which was mostly there first. that people would actually really step into a material world. It was a long timeline where we actually really came down to earth in body and being very material. So then it was a little bit overdone with the ego stuff, that in this space there was like they created the matrix with structures and limitations, and we started to think the science, everything, which is wonderful. It's not that it's not wonderful, but the aim was only on the material side. Then how you can earn money, being rich, status, being beautiful. It was everything in the outside. you know it wasn't anymore connected with your insights. It all aimed, to expand the material world in yourself. And so you and this is going to crash because we see what we did to the earth, what we did to ourselves. Um, People are longing, to be reconnected, but they feel like they have to struggle because at the very moment, lots of people feel kind of lost because the orientation is actually changing while the timeline is collapsing, and so we shift into another timeline. And the other thing is that all the timelines will merge together. So I think people are really like now, there is a lot of synchronicity. Is it the word?
Synchronicity, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Synchronicity.
Uh, yes. Yes, that's the word. And there is a lot of,
Hmm. So let's just continue to, but I want to ask another question about these timelines, Bea. The timelines,
yes,
there's multiple timelines. We have
yes,
multiple timelines.
yeah,
What is this
yes,
multiple, like most of us weren't brought up in the West at least. We think, oh, it's 9 a.m. and then that's going to become 9:30 a.m. and then 10 a.m. is going to happen and it's always going to be like this and time moves in one direction. Help us to connect, help us to see what you see about multiple timelines. How do we begin to experience or recognize it beyond just thinking thoughts about multiple timelines?
yes. You see, I do think that every like timeline actually is like continuous, but not as we see it in a line, but it's like a vortex as well. And so there is many timelines, even timelines you experience, they don't break down, they're still somewhere. And to me, it's like these old timelines, and especially what has been suppressed by, as I said, the power. It's like you could see that, like what it's like strings, and they come together and they pull themselves together in the right way. It's not right and false, but like that everything comes together, and then the separation, will start to to merge with, no, it's not merging, it's like, dissolving. So you would actually feel that the matrix now is collapsing. While it is collapsing, it's like you would be reconnected to all the timelines, every timeline. Would you understand this?
I begin to understand this, and then I find myself wondering if I'm connected to all the timelines,
Yes.
do I experience them all at the same time, or is something more in one timeline is in the foreground of my experience while others are in the background, but I can sense them all? Is it like
Yes.
this?
Yes. And it's so interesting because you are evolving, and so at certain times certain timelines become relevant and others step back. So it's not like in a line, it's just that they're all like together, and then they would actually come up when it's time for you to have this information or to remember at other energy fields you carry with you, so that you actually not overwhelmed. It's kind of very clever that things are popping up just on time. you know you're so conscious that it just happens the way it should happen for you. So don't worry, it's just fine.
Hmm. And
But of course, we
so,
have to actually, it's not a thing you can, by your mind or intellectual possibilities, it's not there. It's the experience. You have to let go of what you think about time, you know. When you step into this kind of timelines, it's timelines, but at the same time, it's like no beginning, no end. It's like
yeah,
endless.
in the East, there's all these years, decades, centuries of teachings. Uh, Particularly if we look at like the Zen program and some of the Buddhist programs, the end of the path is emptiness and no self. If we
Yes.
look at the Sufi path, it's a unity, and love is the end of the path. And so we're seeing, as we learn more about so many paths, that different paths don't all lead to the same location or the same experience, that there are different realizations.
Yes.
What would
Because
you help us to understand about that?
to me, it's like, like consciousness itself actually needs a form, needs expression, needs truths, if you want. So, because this is infinite, so also the creation of forms in all these wonderful concepts in pathways are just like coming out of the source consciousness, and this needs to become a form so that we can see a path and go a pathway, and then you feel yourself, oh, I feel so connected to Buddhism or whatever. I don't want to prefer one of these wonderful concepts and the writings and the books and the meditations. And so you just feel you're actually at the very moment which pathway you go and what wants to be shared, through you with the world. So isn't it wonderful that we can share all these different kinds of pathway and where it could go? you know there is no,
Yeah,
we can't actually come to the point. If you would talk about emptiness we can feel, but emptiness, then it's a stage of consciousness, which of course is just amazing. And then it looks to express itself, because in emptiness the consciousness itself awakes. As soon it awakes, in our dimension, it needs to be expressed. It needs a form. And the form can go and being reconstructed, but it needs a form. It needs a voice. It needs in art, whatever. You can sing, you can dance, it's in movements, it's everywhere. But it needs it needs a form, it needs expression, you know?
when I look at myself, air quotes myself, I see two things at this stage in my own journey. I see and taste that there's a historical sense of self, which is based on memory, many of which I'll say I think are distorted for most of us, the memories of the physical self and personality and upbringing. That sense that most people consider what they call me. This is my me. This is who I am. I like these things. I don't like these things. I vote this way. I don't vote that way. I like boats. Maybe I don't like airplanes, like this. So I'm very more and more aware as the years go by of that. as it's arising, and then also of what seems to be unbroken awareness that is timeless and boundless
Yes.
and impersonal. And what's come to my attention recently is the importance of recognizing what some people might call soul, that there is something individuated that's not just the absolute whole
Yes.
prior to any forms, and it's not the conditioned historical sense of self. What could you tell us about your experience of recognizing what is individual but is not the historical conditioned sense of self?
Yes. I think that's so interesting, because I think that's just what's going on. You know, we would talk about individuality, but this has been so much the identity. You would identify yourself, and then it goes to the ego. You know, it's like there more, and now it's like the individuality which becomes free. You know, and to me, I had this experience when I was 5. No, I was 4, 4.5, and it was winter. So I walked into the kindergarten, and it was snowing, these wonderful snowflakes, and I saw them on my hand. They just came on my hand. And it was this very moment I I knew so deeply, without I didn't think about it, kind of consciously thinking. But it was this deep knowing. I need to remember my signature. I need, you know, I need to know the fractal I am in this lifetime, to go down to the snow, to the old snow, like the cover, the cover of snow, or what's the name of it? The
The,
snowflake falls down, and then you don't see the snowflake anymore. You know,
it melts. When it
it
melts, you
melts
mean?
with all the other snowflakes, and that's
Ah.
community. So I knew, oh, I want to go to this community, but I have to remember, you know, my fractal, because otherwise I'm not reconnected. I don't know what to do here or to share, even though I didn't want it. As you said, then later on I thought nobody's interested in what I feel, because this was so important, this remembering that you actually bring something very, very unique to this world to share, for you to heal, to evolve, to whatever. And then this fractal goes back to your soul, if you want, because it's part of the soul. It's like a fractal. You actually decided, from your higher dimensions, that this form is like with this potential and everything which you want to bring into this world. So, and so you are like many, many dimensions, and then finally you could say we are all one. But that's like a very long, long, long way.
Mm.
So
For those who are new to the term
one day,
fractal,
like the fractal is like, to me, it's like the true self, or it's connected to the higher self, and it's reconnected to like the soul, and it's reconnected to all the dimensions, and finally to the source, where everything flows in and creates all this magic here.
so fractal, if I remember, is a part that also contains all the possibilities of the
Yes,
whole. Is that
yes,
right?
yes,
So even though I have something that's individuated and very unique, that's not my historical Scott self. It
yes,
includes that, but it's so much more. Even though I have this uniqueness, I also have all the possible blueprints of all of
yes,
creation in
yes,
my uniqueness.
yes,
So does
yes,
this mean that I have all the powers that creation has in my beingness?
yes, you have. Yes.
And can anyone access the complete fullness of these powers, or are there protections as we're learning how to be appropriate with them?
There are some like protections, and I always the name like uh, guardians, of portals. We really, and before we always call it initiations, initiations. And I still think there are initiations. So some of the power is protected. But as it has always been, sometimes we call it like magic, and there is the white and the other one a little bit
Mm,
darker. So
mm.
I mean, there is still like energies, as we know it here, like light and shadow, and so this is also in other dimensions. So finally, it's also, I mean, I think there are people, they have access, and then it's like what you're doing with it. It's so important. But what do you feel? And therefore it's so important that we go to this heart intelligence, because by heart you wouldn't be cruel, you wouldn't want to have wars and all these things, all these conflicts. You would see the beauty, and you would be so, I I'm so happy and grateful to be here on this wonderful planet. So I'd love if people would really just, feel it, not only think it and disciplined and put it into a power and then using it for themselves. It's not about you to use it. It's about to share, you know. It's about sharing finally. We
Some
all
of the teachers talk
mm,
about that awakening seems to happen in their observation in three distinct kind of locations, if you will, at the level of head, at the level of heart, and at the level of gut. And
yes,
some of them are suggesting, like teachers like Adyashanti or Lot Kelly or A.H. Almas, that many people's stronger initial awakenings tend to be at the level of mind. And so there's not yet this feeling come
yes,
online, this ability to connect to love that's not about my preferences, but about its inclusive love.
yes,
What could you say about the awakening
yes,
process and really more quickly activating or becoming in contact with the love that moves through the heart that's bigger than my preferences?
yeah, yes. Of course, you're right. I mean, it's the guts. So to me, that's also like the sun, the solar system. So you have to reconnect also to the solar system. Like the sun we know. I mean, this is so important. You have to know your sun. You know, you have to find out there, and there in the guts you have a lot of um, things going on, conditions, like patterns, and they form your thoughts. Then you put yourself into a grid of whatever happens to yourself in your personal life, and then you know the guilt and the fear, or the selfish stuff or whatever, and this is still important because you're also working through the collective, so the ancestors, this
Mm-hmm.
is also a big grid because we're all also ancestors. You're
Mm.
going to be one in a couple of years maybe, and you are already, and you are some in the future as well. So this is like a healing process. You have to really clear this space, and then you have to clear the space here, because the third eye is so important for your vision, to clear the vision, to have the inspiration, and to see it clear, and to, it's not connected to, it's really the mind, it's not your thinking, it's thinking through you, it's building forms, visions, and beings, whatever, and you remember the vision. You also remember the vision for your whatever in the next 4,000 years. You already create everything. And then to me also what's so important is like here, the throat. Throat is so important because this is like the sharing your truth connected to your voice. your voice is connecting to all the other incarnation. To me, it's like to remember, you have to sound, and you have to sing your sound. Your sound and connects you to your signature, and your signature connects to all. Remember, you remember by singing, you know.
Do we each have a sound that I could actually like play on a piano? Like maybe mine is high C and yours is middle D. Is it
Yes,
like this or is it something different?
it is. It's the difference is that you have to do it yourself, because you would find the frequency, you know, your frequency, whatever. Maybe then you can play it on a piano, on a guitar, on a trumpet, drum, whatever. But it's in yourself, so you have to create it yourself. Maybe by listening, you hear, oh, this feels so close to my frequency, you know. But you have your own frequencies. You have your own. I never saw an energy field which is similar to another one. So,
Really?
no, never, never. They're all different, different in shapes, colors, structures. They're all different. You could never find one which is the same. Never. So,
Wow.
yes, this is really a wow after 30 years of, watching or yeah, being part of helping a little bit. It's really amazing. No, you wouldn't find any similar. Which is the thing which we could learn is, if we share our potentials, we increase our own potential. And it's like this, it's like a big sound, because we all carry all these portals. If we share them, so I could actually share my clairvoyance with you, and if you're there, you are clairvoyant, you will be clairvoyant.
Hmm.
This is to come, that we share also, like the gifts. We share them so we can, like, otherwise you have all every lifetime, you learn this, learn that, this and that, but this will actually end. We can invite this and we can share it.
It sounds like
So
you're suggesting that we have no limits on what we can learn, that we can somehow like download from
yes,
the
yes,
universe
yeah,
about anything.
yes, about anything.
How does a person begin who's listening? How does somebody goes, I had mystical experience as a child. Maybe I've done a little meditation. Maybe I've read some books. Maybe I've read The New Earth, and like this, or The Untethered Soul. But like, what do I do next to open to these capacities in a way that I can handle, that doesn't, take me out of my life too quickly?
Yes, of course, it's important. And of course, also, it's important that you know your personality. You need to work. You can't, if I say this, I say, yes, that's to come. But we have still to go, like, step by step, if you want. We have to the process, you cannot just jump over it. It wouldn't work.
Right,
So
right.
you have to know your body. You have to know your system. You have to know your personality. Have to know where you have your leaks of whatever leaks. Where
Hmm.
you have to know your pain body, for example. Actually, you have to know uh, who you know. You come here and you, like, connected. And after a while, you have these patterns, influences, everything. And then you're somebody, um, by influences.
Hmm.
So you have to know all about what you can learn, what is processing in you in this lifetime, because you also made a decision to pop up in a family. Even sometimes it's very, very sad what happens to people, really. I mean, when I say this, I don't want to um, miss to say that some people really have such a life story which makes me all sad, and I could really cry. It's really, there are things human do to each other which is so not understandable if we would be connected. So
The teacher I work with more recently, Donnie Epstein, who founded Network Chiropractic, that's now called Network Spinal, and other energetic disciplines around the world, talks about what he calls first tier energetics and next tier energetics. In the first tier, we require pain to crack us open, and that the people he says he sees who have the most ability to help others have the most intense experiences as children that cracked us open. But that when we actually learn how to open to second tier energetics, we don't require pain in order to open further. What might you say from what you've observed with people
yes,
about
I
all
think
this?
also this is happening now and still happening because like a crisis or pain opens, it just opens because that's you feel pain, you know. So a crisis or a separation, a death, an illness is really like a portal. It opens you. I had this experience. I was very, very ill when I was 11 years old. So I had a near death experience by this time. And after this, everything expanded even more. I was already, yes, communicating with all the beings and the nature and the beings there. But after this near death experience, it was like even more like energy. I embodied even more of this, which I didn't
Hmm.
want. but, but
Right.
this was a major it was a major crisis. I was 11 and I wasn't happy to die, but I knew I'm going to die. I woke up in the morning and I knew this is my last day. So I'm going to die. And I wasn't so happy. I thought, I'm here 11 years, so I want to stay. But still, it happened. So, but they brought me back. And so I was like in the other world for, you know, this is no time because the experience you have when you're really out of body and your body is really gone for a while, this is amazing and expanding, and you bring it back, and it's a crisis. But I think this is not needed now in future. That we only can actually evolve by pain and crisis. But yes, that's how it used to be because otherwise we are very comfortable, everything is fine, we go into a deep sleep, 80 years, and then we die. You know,
Hmm.
it's a little bit like this with people
Hmm.
because we are we've been separated, and then we are in this, I call it like ego matrix. And then you settle well, you have the money, you're good looking, you're healthy. So this is fine. And it should be like this, of course. It shouldn't be different. But I think because we created so a material world, it could be only the crisis and the pain, you know, that you would rethink or start to reflect or start to just be alive.
One of the things I'm feeling in our dialogue is over and over, even though we're not saying the word over and over, it got said early on, the importance of connecting with the energetic, the essential energetic of love.
Yes.
And I feel from having coached people for a long time that many people don't know what love is still. They know what it feels like to be wanted or hugged or given physical gifts, but to actually sense the energetic signature of love, it seems really like maybe the most important thing we could actually learn to do that will expedite our spiritual awakening, our ability to collaborate, our ability to
Yes.
recognize everything.
Yes. Of course, because then you are also beyond like comparison, like, separate, like thinking, this is mine, this is my house, this is my this, my whatever. And, but I think we are far away from this stage of really what love is. We are processing towards this love, we would call love. A lot of people talk about love and light, and it's not there. It's just the words, and the energy is just not there. You know, I think it's sometimes it's we process. As I say, it's. I think love at this state we are in will burn you down in 3 minutes or maybe 3 days.
Wow.
I don't think you could actually embody the body we have now. You can really go very close, but this is such a strong energy. When I came out on this near death experience, I was kind of there for my feeling for a moment, but I burned for days, you know, burned. It was like, oh, I can't take this one. So
Did
I
it
think,
physically feel like
yeah,
burning?
physically, I
Physically?
think it's physically not possible at the very moment to really bring this energy we have. The body needs to change, yeah, a little bit.
Are there things that we can do on our own in our daily habits that help to change the body to be able to be with more of this love? Or is it
Yeah,
something that has to happen in the collective field that we're not able to really
I
do
think
something?
everywhere of we have to do something. We just start. I think we have to invite this energy every day. Really, it's also like to invite, you know, the light into our cells slowly, slowly, slowly. So also like the DNA, everything is going to change. It's like also there we have like grids on the DNA which covers the remembering to this stage of love. And then this is actually also not connected then to the cells. So we are also like by meditating, walking in the nature, opening for the lightful energies. Actually, we can invite, if I say slowly, it doesn't mean like by time. It's gentle more, maybe. Be
Mm,
gentle. Be gentle with it. Don't force it. Because it's not like an energy you can force, nor that love wants to be forced. We know this maybe in this what some people understand in a relationship. They want to force love on somebody, and we all know we don't like that. You know, we want to be free and share love, and but not being imposed. Like I love you, so you have to love me back. You know,
mm.
so this
And
kind
is
of
that
love.
even love? Is that kind of thing
No,
even love? Or is that more
no.
preferences?
I think that's what people understand still, but I think in a larger side, it's the same. Love is just everything and nothing we can imagine. But I think it's important to go this pathway, to longing for this energy. You know, every day, every day, invite this energy
Talk
into
about
your
the
life.
power of longing. That just stood out. The
Yes,
power of longing. Tell us
yes.
your experience of working with the power of longing.
Longing is really like the path to reconnect. Longing is also like a possibility to remember, because in the longing, you're connected. In the longing, in you participate on this love, part of this great, great energy, which is everywhere. It's the only energy which is everywhere and is shared with everybody in every form who has appeared here and in all dimensions. It's the only nourishment, it's the only energy. which actually brings life. We can talk this is this and cell and DNA, but it's all created by this only and one energy source, and this is love. But I think what we call love is far away from the energy, which maybe carries the same name, but it's not the same energy.
Yeah, like when I
Very
say,
downgraded love. That's why I said love and light. It's sometimes so downgraded. It's such a
yeah,
power, and the longing, you can feel it in the longing also sometimes, like the distance. It's not, it's like a distance between you and where you are at the same time, but it needs another breath, a deep breath, to inhale the energy, bring it into your body, breathe this love into your body and in every cell, even if you don't understand it. And the best is just experience it. Don't think too much about it.
this is it though. I observe myself even here sitting together with you and all of the listeners. And I just want to say this to the listeners, when you're listening to these podcasts, it may seem like you're listening at what I call a later now moment, but it's still always an ever now. So the way you listen actually is drawing out wisdom, clarity, and love through whomever we're dialoguing with. So your listening is actually actively shaping this podcast, even though you think it's at a later timeline. And what I'm really present to is the quieter my ordinary mind becomes, the more obvious this more of this love is. Like it, as Bea is saying, it's not a thought. If I go to thought, words about my experience, it starts to close down the fullness of the experience. Whereas if I'm just here and my front of my body is soft as I face Bea on the screen, and my breath just flowing, and there's nowhere to get to, there's this sense of a vibration through the body that doesn't end at the body. It ripples out through the plants and the trees and the house and the floorboards and the earth, and it's not possible to tell where it begins or ends.
Yes. Yes. It's like sometimes we call it maybe like a flow. To me, sometimes it's like a melting, and like everything is just melting, and there is in every form, you, as you said, you would find this energy, feel it, and it's like you would melt, you become like an ocean, yourself, like this, no beginning, no end, and you lose yourself, like you just know you are in this form, and through this form and in this form and in this expression is this great, great, great energy, which
I'm remembering
actually,
something that Ramdas was visiting. He was new to his guru, Niyam Karoli Baba Maharaji, Indian guru, powerful Indian guru.
mhm,
And at one point, Maharaji turns to Ramdas and he says, Ramdas, you should meditate the way Jesus meditated. And Ramdas says, well, how did Jesus meditate? And Maharaji says, it chokes me up every time I say it. He said, he lost himself in love.
yes,
He lost himself in love.
yes. I think that's the same for me. I would then say I melt into it, so that's a bit the same, it's just you become the energy, and you don't put a frame on it, because this energy doesn't have a frame, never had.
When I when this happens, this melting, this dissolving into love, there's also a simultaneous feeling of an upsurge, like an energy that moves up the body at the same time as there's an expansion and a softening of the
Yes.
edges. And in this experience, there's not a sense of anything's missing or wrong. There's not a sense that I have to go get a lover or call anybody. The love is complete.
Yeah. Yes, it's complete, and it's, you would not put a value, or it's nothing like that. It's beyond all this what we know, or we sometimes start to think over, or um, as you say, it's, to me it's also beyond words. It's like you, we have this word or this expression love, but it's beyond every expression you could actually find for this wonderful energy we approach. To me it's still like an approaching, because you melt in, if it comes back, or you come back also a little bit into, because you're here also, you have your senses, and this is great, so you are also part of this material world, the nature, the earth. Then sometimes it, it it loosens its power, you could say, because you're in your story, you're in your process, and then it starts again that you maybe start to put the value, or that you say, but this is not going, or this is not happening like this. And I think that's why we should invite. So this energy is the most amazing guide, you know. It guides you out of this emptiness, and as you say, you lose yourself, means also you're not in your whatever matrix. I always call it like this because I like this bubble thing, that then you go back into your bubble, and and then you are in your bubble again, and then it's not the forgetting, but then you have your emotions, thought forms, you have your body energy calling you back, and so it's by meditation to dive in, and then try to bring us much back into like your daily life. And then, because we are in a life, in a time structure where people look for themselves, we actually also forgot how the sharing, the sharing should be in all, money sharing, house sharing, form sharing, everything, but we are still there. This is my house, my partner, my dog, my garden, whatever, but this is just not possible, because this is a form, and form will actually end or change its form, and but we're still like in this timeline, and that's my wish, that it can collaborate, we collapse, so we can collaborate in another way of being together on this world with your talents. You see, somebody is a musician, but he doesn't know how to earn money. But why he shouldn't have money? Because he's just a musician, and he does this wonderful music. But somebody else is very good in making money. That's a talent, and he knows it, so he should do it. And then we share everything. So then, to me, it could also then be that this hierarchy, you know, can actually break down as well, because we have all these hierarchies, and who is best and who is this, and everything is like this. And to my experience, and I have this since childhood, that this will like become like another movement, but we are only at the beginning, because okay, you share everything, maybe tomorrow you have nothing because nobody else would share something with you. We're still in this stage of, we would like to share, but then we fear, okay, if I give now all the money to this person, and but then how I can survive myself, at the end of the month. We don't trust now, but we start, I think we are at the beginning as we see people, communities, it starts, but it's still like the old matrix. You have to look after yourself and how you will survive, and stuff like this. And this is not in this space of the love we just talked about. This is nothing to do with this love.
What I'm hearing as I'm listening is having this sense that more and more of us, especially those of you who are listening still and really interested in what's happening here, are having experiences of love, are having experience of greater awareness and energy bigger than our memory. And and then what happens is that energy comes into the body, into the subtle energy structures of our individuality, and it helps to reveal where we still have tension patterns that
Yeah.
distort what we see and experience. So I experience all this love, and then I don't realize what's happening, and I get stimulated hour later to worry that my boyfriend is not interested in me any longer, or that my money is going to go away and I have to put extra effort in. And I think it's valuable to point out, like, that what's happening isn't that love has failed, or that creative energy has failed, or we've lost access, but what's happened is I've just re-identified with the matrix. I've
Yes.
re-identified with my personal memory of my history, and so then I'm only limited because I'm identified
Yes.
in that way, not because I'm actually held into a limitation by life. I'm only limited by the ways in which I'm focusing my attention.
Yeah. And this happens so quickly. It's like so quickly, that people are back. I sometimes see it when they are in great energies, we share meditation, and then they go to the restaurant, and then the waitress is not coming, or they have to wait a little bit, or maybe the food is not as perfect, and or they forgot something, and they're back complaining and shouting at somebody, and oh, this is my place. And you just a moment before, the energy was so open, everybody was sharing and being in this deep stage of consciousness, and then they come out, and everything breaks into this old system of themselves. you know she didn't see me, I was first, why this table has been served before me, I was waiting already 10 minutes. There's a little thing, but to me it's of importance. As you say, you just fall back in what you, and also in your leaks, or um, what you think you should have. There is always like a wanting in it. And then you fall back into this stage, and then you don't connect it because you still think, yeah, but this is good, I want to have it. It's for me. And
Right.
and also then you think, and also some of the spiritual pathways and the coachings, they go very much to this side, like, yes, you should have, and every wish has to be fulfilled. But if it's not the highest harmony, sometimes you think, this is my harmony, but no, this is your matrix harmony. Doesn't work with love. you know
Yeah,
it's what
it's
you
an
think
illusion.
you deserve. It's the illusion, and the illusion is then the separation. Also, you know the illusion of this ego field, and what you think you could have and should have and deserve. This is the separation, and this is the old timeline, because actually this has been like constructed, if you want.
Yeah.
Now we're sitting in this one, and it's then you have your deep meditation, and it's like something which is still, what's the word, if you um, put a
Divided.
marker. It's, yes, it's like divided. Here you have your life and your desires and whatever you wanting, and then you go to the spiritual, to the other world, and the meditation, and then it's still not really connected. it's still like two worlds for a lot of people. They really go into this deep experience, then they wake up in this other life. It's like, or they dream great dreams, lucid dreams. Nothing is manifesting on in this world then from these dreams. It's like we could not carry the energy as I feel the multi-dimensional being in yourself is able like to carry the energy just into the stage you need it to have. It even comes if you cut your carrots, but you have to cut your carrots and you can't be far away because you don't have you have one of it is gone then. you know
Right, right.
it's about shifting everything into the highest harmony. And it's the highest harmony is very often not what you think about your harmony. You know, it's like your harmony is off, as you said, in this limitation, and is still longing because then you have everything, and still there is no harmony. So you do another thing, and still you have another wish, and it's still not there, because you're not in this highest, harmony of yourself, and then it's still the longing and separation and all this. Yes.
This is the impulse behind the title of the podcast, The Choice to Grow. No matter whom I'm dialoguing with and what the subject matter seems to be, the interest, the calling that I'm saying yes to is to help people to have a different context for life. I don't know when it happened, but the context for my life is the choice to grow, to use as, and do I forget sometimes? Yes, but to use all the moments to grow. I recently had the experience after a car accident of massive fraud from the people who were fixing the car, billing the insurance company thousands of dollars for things they did not do that ended up my car is still not fixed. And it got found out, and I had to be very ferocious without closing my heart with the owner of the shop to make him send a bank check of every penny back to the insurance company. I was terrified. And what was different for me in this experience of previous experiences of difficulty was I honestly never lost my experience of love for this person, but I didn't let that stop me from doing the right thing and being very fierce and saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to go to the Bureau of Automotive Repair, which is terrifying in this country to them because they lose their license. I say this because I get questions when I'm teaching about, oh, well, does love mean no boundaries and people are going to harm me? Does love mean I don't ever speak up? No, actually, love tells me how to speak up. Love
Yes.
tells me what to say and where to go.
So important, the words you just shared. Very
Mm.
important, because it's also very often people say, yeah, but I am selfless. And I say, you shouldn't be. You know, it's important that you express, and sometimes it's been needed to, as you said, put the limitation to say, no, it's not working. And it's still not like hatred, it's not nothing to do with that, but sometimes you have to speak out very clearly, and say what you have to say, or
This is
order.
so important because we're talking, I think, in part about the difference between bound energy and unbound energy.
Yes.
Like unbound energy is the creative power that creates worlds. And in bound energy, we have, examples we don't love, like I have some insecurity about myself. That's a form of bound energy. But also having a garden that I promise to take care of is another form of bound energy that's healthy. So what could you say about knowing when it's appropriate to bind energy? Because a lot of spiritual teachings out there seem to mislead people into believing I lose my identity, nothing belongs to me, like I don't bind anything, there's no There's no boundaries anywhere, which I don't find is healthy or helpful or
No,
skillful.
no, I think, as you said, deep in yourself, you know that there is no limitation, no boundaries, but we are in a material world. So we evolve also by the boundaries, you know? So, and you have, if you have your garden, it's about you, you know, to look for the plants and watering and whatever. And and also that actually to speak your truth, to bring it into the world, also is like, as you said, we need the boundaries also to evolve or to bring something in a process, you know. It's like, it's in a way no limitations, and in a way it's an illusion of boundaries, but it's needed, you know, so that we can proceed. And I also felt very often with people then who want themselves to have no boundaries. They have the most, because then they fall into subconscious, and they have a lot of boundaries. And so it's nice if you know about, and you even happy about this, you can say, no, this is good for me. And so you stay out, or you have to change this because I don't want to be in this energy, whatever, you know. Um, to me, it feels deeply right when you do it. It's still for the community. It's still for you and everybody. You know, if the boundaries becomes like you, I have the right to say this tree has to go because I don't want the shadow. You know, then you have to think: is it really this, or what is missing here? You know. So if you actually start to do this kind, you want to be right, you want to be the one who is right, and it's nothing to do with what is actually for everybody now a good thing. And of course, this fraud you taught, this you put in the balance, you know. So it's also about balancing the boundary. You know, it's still about you and the us and the community, the world, the universe, the boundaries also for this, to balance, to evolve, to learn, to be in a process. You find out, but to me, it's like such a strong energy when it's really be needed to do it. It's very deep in myself. Still, it's not. It's something deeper. You just know you have to do it even if you don't like it. For example, I don't like to do this, what you said. Ooh, to me, it's, if I have to do a thing like this, I don't like it, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't
Yeah.
understand why somebody could do this at the
Right.
first. I think, how a person can do this? How can he sleep, this person? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't, I don't know. I couldn't stay 1 minute, you know, with doing a thing like that. It would blow me away, or I don't know, you know, it would be so painful. So
Yeah.
uh, I think people who are sensitive or sensible, at least, or they would actually really feel if they want to impose something because of themselves, really like the ego and not the bounded energy. This is a difference to me. Or if this is important to learn and to share, and sometimes to put a limit, to say no, say that's fine, but this is not how it works, as you had with your car, you know, this is not going to work, and then you have to
Yeah.
stand for it and say this is not going to work. So
And I've had to stand firm because things are not happening in my time frame. You know,
yes,
the accident itself was 6 months ago. The check arrived at the insurance place in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago today, but it still hasn't been posted. So I've had to stay connected to the knowing I don't know how, but things are working out, and stay available to any part I need to play, whether it's a phone call, a text, or simply to sit down and breathe and relax. So we're coming towards the end of our time, and there's two questions I'd love to ask. One I ask every guest, and one I will ask you. So I'm going to ask the one that I ask every guest first. So there's a famous quote, at least to me it's famous, that I share over the years with my students from Shunryo Suzuki Roshi, the Japanese Zen master who opened the Zen Center of San Francisco in the 1960s. And he would say, "Death is certain, the time is not. What is the most important thing?" So to you, Bea Rubli, what is the most important thing?
I think everything we already talked about at the very moment. I think there is never like the most important thing, because I think it's like every moment you can invite the next important thing. So the most important thing maybe is to really be connected within yourself, and share it, and and then there's another most important thing to me is nature and animals. So that we really, really look after our beautiful earth and the living beings, and not only the human beings. We are part of a living earth, a living planet. So to respect every living being, be
I have the
nice.
feeling you've
Kind.
just answered a question that our listeners are thinking about love. How do I develop more love? I feel like you just said it in an indirect way, that spending time in nature with real care and compassion for the animal and the nature experience, to really be generous with nature and protective of nature, will actually open the feeling tone of love and make it more recognizable.
Yes, yes. Because sometimes, to me, like the human beings, they think themselves really very intelligent. But then I feel this is like very stupid intelligence. You know, there is an intelligence, an universal intelligence. But what we do, this is not. This is mostly stupid at the very moment. So
Yeah.
to to really go into another intelligence and share and go into nature, look at these beautiful forms. Now, as we speak, we're going here in France towards springtime, so the first leaves comes out, like the first flowers colors, the animals shows up, the birds start to sing. Isn't that like, love in its best version? Hmm.
Yes. So as you sense into all the those who are listening, who are hungry to grow, and the space we are sharing, you and I, is there anything that you sense wants to be articulated
I
here?
do feel that the sensitivity, and I think if you're listening or the listeners here, they are, because otherwise they wouldn't listen that long to this
Yeah.
talk or dialogue. Also, to invite this sensitivity first, not to think that they are not part of this world, as I did experience it, of course, as well, and most of the people still do, because you always have to change word in society. You can't just talk about energies and how you feel, and because nobody, sometimes they don't respond. You feel the energy, the atmosphere, and they would still say, ah, I'm fine, I'm super, everything is fine, I'm nice. And you feel, oh no, this is not even there. So to trust also your impulses, to start trust what you feel, what you see. Even people would say, I don't see it, I don't feel it, don't put it away. Just start to listen to your body, to your voice, to your feelings, to the whatever comes into your thoughts is in what is inspiring you. Maybe you do a movement, you sing, you write it down, you talk with somebody, start to invite this truth, and don't think you, because you need it. We really, it's kind of an emergent call now, because it's not, it's really like now it has to brought in, to in the body, in the material world. So as you said, that we can actually rise, and so yes, it's wonderful to be sensitive. It's wonderful to have all these intense sensations, you know. Don't put it away. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like overwhelming or people, or just be yourself and be happy that you have this gift, and that you feel that you're a consciousness in this wonderful body for a little while. So yes.
Mm. And for those, our podcast is in English and not translated. For those who are English speaking, uh, what are our opportunities to work with you, to
Oh,
learn with you?
I do workshop also in English. Of course, I do the channelings in English. So if I really can really go deeper, my English is much better normally than, because I can go into the English flow. Um, yes. So yes, I do share workshops and channelings in
And
English.
we'll put all that in the show notes for you guys to check out all of Bea's links and whatnot and explore and trust the right timing. Trust the right timing. Bea,
Yes.
it is always a joy to spend time with you. I love spending time with you. I always feel like I could go longer and longer.
Yeah.
Uh, I never
We
get
have
bored or tired.
to meet and hang out a little bit, and maybe, and I would really love that we can at some point and sometime also do a workshop, or some work together, and invite people to join, and yeah, that'd be
Well, I would
wonderful.
love that. I'm a yes to that, and I can feel the energy's already moving. So, listeners, stay tuned for when and where that will happen, because it will, and
It will.
possibly more than once, most likely. So, with great joy, with great love, and a big hug to you, Bea. Thank you for your time, your love, for all the things you've lived through, things that nobody will ever know about, that allowed you to be the person through whom so much love and clarity can come through for the willing. And thank you for sharing time together here in this way.
Thank you so much. I don't have any words. It was wonderful, and thank you for your love and your wonderful words you share, and your wonderful energy. I have to say, it's just, yeah, I'm grateful too. I'm very happy.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. And with great love, everybody, may this material help you in ways that you can't even imagine and ways that you can. And we'll get together again and again in these dialogues. Thank you for choosing to listen to The Choice to Grow. Please like, share widely with all of your friends. Bye for now. Loving the episode? Click to follow, like, and share it as widely as possible. Want to go deeper with The Choice to Grow? Explore the show notes. You'll find links there for going deeper with our guests, as well as how to work with me in the work of waking up, growing up, cleaning up, and showing up. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to join you in the next episode.